Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
All right, let me take a moment and explain why I gave this to you, and then I will start going through the presentation. Obviously, there's a business card on that. I think everyone can see that. What I tried to do was also provide the slides that I'm going to go through, although you'll notice that the second and third slides have been switched when you see them on screen. But in my mind, the thing that really is significant is the last sheet that is in that handout. It's got information on two sides, and it talks about a project that we're engaged with called the Study of Virtual Global Collaboration. There are 4 universities, my home campus, University of Massachusetts, Bentley College in Waltham, Massachusetts, National University of Ireland in the Republic of Ireland, and then Ulster in Northern Ireland. And for those of you who know anything about the Irish experience, we claim 2 countries because they, in fact, are 2 separate countries. So what we've tried to do is to put a project together where we use multiple pieces of technology to get people to collaborate over international borders. And Conference XP, I look at as the kind of base technology that we've supplemented with a couple of other things. So that's what I want to try and talk about today, where Conference XP fits in, but also some of the other technologies that come from the TAP, Office 2000 technology adoption program that we're a part of. And I will say right now that you'll notice on the first sheet there's only 9 slides, so I do not have a lot of slides to work through. What I'm hoping is that we go along, there will be areas where there will be some questions, and I will be more than happy to try and answer any of those questions that you might have. You will also notice over here that I've listed some of my colleagues, and a little bit later we've got a short video clip. You'll actually see a couple of the folks from Ireland. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, if you would, and that is stop looking. This reminds me of being in class. I'm suddenly very comfortable. Stop looking at your goddamn screens on your computer and look at the instructor up in the front of the room. You can continue to look, but I'm going to ask you to take just a couple of minutes, if you would, and think about the issue that I'm trying to raise here. And that is, I would like you to take a sheet of paper, and in a couple of sentences, I'm not asking you to write a lot, but 2-3 sentences, I'd like you to write what your experiences have been with collaborative work groups. And it could be anything from having done much all the way to we're involved in a whole bunch of technology-assisted things. I'm very interested in having you commit that to paper. I'd like to hear from a couple of people. I'd like to explain what we're trying to do, and then at the end of my presentation, I want to go back and I want to revisit that again, because I think what we're trying to do is pretty innovative, unique in some respects. So, if you would please, get a piece of paper. You can even use the back of the handout that I gave you.
Those plastic computers.
Pardon?
We use those plastic.
No, I want you to write. I'm of the mindset that if you put it on paper, it's going to stay there for a while. I'm only going to ask you to take 3 or 4 minutes. This is not going to be a long exercise. But quite seriously, I want you to think about your own experience with what I'm broadly defining as collaborative work groups. And it doesn't have to be in a distance environment. It could be at the location that you're at, wherever that location would be. But I want you to focus and think about the concept of collaboration. Please.
You have extra pens.
As a matter of fact, I do. I understand that too. Okay. Again, I'm only asking you to take a couple of minutes. I would like to hear a few responses, and then I'm going to go into my presentation, and at the end, we'll see if anyone has changed their mind about the kinds of things that they're describing. I will also say that I have a habit as an instructor of walking back and forth and into the audience, so I will do my best to stay constrained here up at the front. Just let me reemphasize, I'm only looking for 3, maybe 4 sentences. You know, I'm not requiring you to write paragraph upon paragraph. It's more just a kind of a quick listing of some ideas that you might have or some experiences that you've had. I'll give you a minute or 2 more, and then I would like to hear from a couple of people for some immediate feedback, and then I will move into the main part of my presentation. Okay, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask a couple of people to give a brief response to what I asked them to write down. And as I point you out, as I volunteer you, it would be nice to hear your name and whatever organization you're from. And and this young lady right over here, please, your name and what organization are you with?
I'm Brenda Rapp, and I'm from Cornell University.
Okay, Brenda, could you take a moment or two and give us what your response was?
Mine's more of a support role, not actually collaborating with people, but helping facilitating other people's collaboration.
Okay, fine. That's very good.
And some of the challenges is trying to get people to try new things.
Of course. Yeah, if that's not part of your operational self, it's very difficult to suddenly be told that that's the kind of environment that you're going to work in. Gentleman with the striped shirt here. First name?
I'm Norm.
Okay, Norm, please.
From Eastern Illinois University.
Yes.
I use collaborative work groups. Often they're self-organizing, so you're not sure what their framework's going to be, and also usually you see them using both synchronous and asynchronous technologies.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they can collaborate either way or using a combination of both.
Just as a little bit of addition, do you think that that's been successful? Been satisfied with the results that you've seen?
Well, it's been successful in the context that I teach in, which is an MBA program, because
okay.
What I'm trying to do is show them, those students, how collaborative work groups work, so that when they have to implement those, they'll understand some
mm-hmm.
of the pros and cons and some
okay.
of the nuances of it.
I'd like one more response, then I'm going to give my presentation, and I'm going to ask after we've talked about it for a little more information. Gentleman over here to my left, your first name, please. Please.
Chris Casa.
From?
Harvard and MIT.
Okay.
One of the problems that I always run into when we do collaborative teleconferencing is the ability to just share electronic copies of documents and then have people automatically be able to get a copy of, the archive of what's happening and what has happened.
I paid that gentleman for the lead-in because later on we're going to talk about Conference XP hooking up with OneNote and why that's, in my mind, the perfect delivery mechanism. Okay. I think I mentioned, but I'm going to mention it again. I'm Gino Sorcinelli. I'm from the University of Massachusetts, the Amherst campus of UMass. I teach in the Eisenberg School of Management. On the business card that I distributed, you can see pertinent information about my email address, et cetera, et cetera. I hold a faculty post in the Accounting and Information Systems Department. I'm also the Director of Computer Resources for the Eisenberg School of Management. And two things that I think are really relevant to what we're talking about. Recently, the Deloitte group, the Deloitte Foundation specifically, has approached me through the University of Massachusetts to start doing some work with what they call their Gen Y student base that they're finding coming in the door. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time talking about Generation Y, other than to point out that this generation is really very tech savvy, was born into the technology revolution, uses it all the time. They think they understand the technology. My experience has been that I don't believe they fully understand the technology, but they think that they're very hip. And if they can't use the technology, somehow or other the instructional experience for them is not a positive experience. Deloitte is running into a situation where the kids that are graduating from school and go to work for them as accountants or consultants, Deloitte's having the problem of setting up a work environment where they can take advantage of these supposedly tech-savvy kids. So we're trying to get something going where we'll allow Deloitte to study the process a little bit more, and hopefully they'll implement it through their HR group. The social networking and team activities are the things, specifically the team activities, that I'm trying to take advantage of in the course I teach at UMass Amherst. That course is called SOM 210, School of Management 210. It's a sophomore level course. It's a course on information systems, and it's a required course for everyone who goes through the School of Management. In a moment, I'll show you a portal that we've developed for what we call our core courses, SOM being one of those core courses. 1999, I changed the structure of the course dramatically. Prior to that, it was students would meet and lecture twice a week. They'd have a computer lab where they'd go through workbooks and try and learn Microsoft Office. Okay? They would focus on Excel, they would focus on PowerPoint, they would focus on Word, and we'd do some Access. And it was a total disaster. The students thought that they knew all the ins and outs of the software, so having them sit in front of a PC and go through structured exercises they felt was worthless, and it was just time wasted for them. So I knew we had to do something different, so we completely changed the entire lab experience for the students. First thing we did was we broke them up into teams. We gave them research assignments to go online and look at business databases, retrieve information. And we needed a mechanism for them to experience what it was for an organization to have a portal where people within the portal post the results of the work that they do. And at that point, there was a beta product called Tahoe that Microsoft had. It's become SharePoint. And yeah, thank you, not Team Services, but Portal Server. So we started using Tahoe, and we built in, I would say, a very intricate series of experiences to allow the students to do these things right here. And these, in my mind, are the core skills that students get from the course that I teach. They have to do search and retrieval online. They have to be able to analyze that information. We give them weekly problems to work through, and then they have to be able to write summaries. They have to be able to post that stuff to the portal site. And I'm pretty proud of what we've done. Now this is the part of the presentation. I hope that works. We'll see whether or not. This keyboard, for some reason or other today, is very sensitive to touch, so. Okay. The Eisenberg School of Management has 6 core courses. There are 2 accounting courses. There's a law course. There's 2 2 management courses, and then there's my course, School of Management 210. Every student who goes through the School of Management has to take those courses, pass those courses with a grade of C or higher, or else they don't get a degree from the School of Management. So what we have done is we've incorporated pieces from all of those courses into SOM 210. So there are exercises that students complete in lab that in one way or another tie into those other courses. Just want to show you one example of what a team work site looks like, because that has a direct impact on what we're doing with Conference XP. This is my lab, AL2. These are the teams. We have them usually in 3-person teams. I just want to show you an example of what one of the teams has done. If you are familiar with SharePoint, even if you're not familiar with SharePoint, I think everyone knows what a web part is. I don't have to go into a description of that, but what we've done is we've created team sites within the portal structure that have a series of web parts, and those web parts do various things. On the left, we have assignments that each team works through. Those assignments are structured in a certain way. I'm not going to take a whole bunch of time going through the instructions, other than to point out that each assignment, in one way or another, is tied into a business-related database. So the students go online to do research, and then within the team that they're in, they do certain things. They answer certain questions, and then they post information. And that's what you see in these 2 web parts here. These are documents that students have prepared. Those are URL links to show where they have gone. And then down at the bottom, we have web parts. This particular team is covering Dell, and they get a stock feed to show what the Dell stock is doing. And then there's a feed over here for news. So throughout the semester, once a week, these students, twice a week they go to a lecture. Once a week they meet in lab. They meet with their other team members. They go through exercises that we have, and then they post the results to this portal site. Okay. For the past 7 semesters, we've done research each semester, pre and post tests, and overwhelmingly the results of those pre and post tests show that at the beginning of the semester, students, now these are sophomore level students, so these are not higher level folks, they really don't understand what it means to research online. By the end of the semester, all of the indices have advanced dramatically. So we got great results from students going through this kind of work. It's collaborative, it's interactive, it's using the internet, it's using SharePoint portal, et cetera, okay? So you need to keep that in mind, because that particular process is what we've done to try and face a situation that literally every student today has and will have experience with, and that is working in teams. And more of those teams are of a virtual nature. They're not necessarily located at the same work site. And how do you get the people on those virtual teams to work together? And that's the basis for our use of Conference XP. So for the next 10 or 15 minutes, I want to try and explain where Conference XP fits into this. Other pieces of Microsoft software also. This top part up here, I'm sure everyone understands teamwork and what that all means. For virtual teams, there are certain things that have to be not only addressed, but you have to make sure that they're addressed in such a way that you don't lock out people. There obviously are cultural differences. There's, the informal meetings you don't have, and then the idea of management by walking around. That does not exist. So you have to make the experience a rich experience, and that's where Conference XP has really served us well. What I want to do is, again, if I can touch this without having it blow up on me. I want to take you to the Microsoft site for 2007 Office, 2007 Office. We are one of the members of the, in their TAP, Technology Adoption Program. And we've been working since early March of this year on using some of the technology. And in this particular website, there's a focus of people working together, communication and collaboration, and then empowering global teams with collaborative workspaces. That's what our effort is all about, and that's where Conference XP comes in. Conference XP for us is the foundation technology, and then other pieces of the new Office 2007 are the things that are built on around it. So I want to try and show you what that looks like. And now again, this is going to be interesting to see if this works. Wait a minute. I have to make sure we actually have some audio here. Microsoft sponsored what was called their Global Exchange Conference, MGX, in July of this year. They took 4 instances where groups were using the new version of Office, and they put together a 4.5-minute video clip. We were the only university that was invited to participate, and what I'm going to show you here is the 1 minute and 10-second video that we got out of the 4.5 minutes. You're going to see a couple of people, Brian Donnellan, Peter Devine from the Irish campuses. They were part of what was recorded. And you're also, I think, hopefully you're going to hear what it means from their viewpoint and from my viewpoint for what we're trying to do. Now, you may not catch it, so I'm going to mention right at the very beginning, you're going to see me standing in front of a group of people in Galway, Ireland, and over on the screen on the side, you're going to see Jason and Todd, because they participated in a Conference XP session with the group that we had. It's going to go by pretty quickly, but let me tell you, it's there. Now let's see what happens here. I can't boost my audio any louder than that.
We're working with the University of Ulster, the University of Massachusetts, and Bentley College Boston on an exciting new joint venture where we're creating a virtual product development team involving students that span all 3 university sites.
We were getting feedback from industry that when people are launched into the real life world, they immediately have to work in teams. This is our response to try and prepare students better.
We're going to focus again on 2007 Groove, 2007 SharePoint, 2007 OneNote, because in my mind, those are the tools that allow our students to collaborate better, that allow our students to do the analysis and synthesis that we want them to do, and then to publish. And I think that's a very critical thing in today's work world.
If you have high-quality tools, as we do in this case with Microsoft, they actually disappear from view, and the students interact as if they're not there. And that's the test of first-rate software.
So if anyone doubted whether the new Office was first-rate software, our chancellor just told you that in fact it was. You may not know the name John Lombardi, but he's been involved with the high-tech industry for quite a few years. As a matter of fact, the first software review that I read in 1972 was written by John Lombardi for InfoWorld. I was at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. He was not at chancellor level there. He was the head of the arts and science program there. But he wrote for years for InfoWorld on technology reviews. So he's been involved with the area for quite a while. All right, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to acknowledge that there's a global world. I think everyone understands that. And what we're trying to say is that in this particular environment, that teams have certain things they have to be worried about. They have to be worried about collaboration, both cross-functional and cross-institutional. They have to understand that the process of building a product is not located in one facility anymore, but in fact it's distributed around the globe. So in order to do that, the people involved on those teams have to have the skills to work. So we're starting our students at a sophomore level. We're using Conference XP to give them part of that experience, and we're trying to incorporate SharePoint and Groove and OneNote to make that a complete experience. Cisco released a study very recently about virtual global team collaboration, and they put a grid together of the highs and the lows of it. The two areas at the bottom caught my eye, and that's the reason I'm including this. The idea of having video conferencing and the idea of trying to unify communications makes the experience much more positive. So we feel that the process that we're involving our students in, using Conference XP to work with universities in the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland, in fact addresses those issues.